Hey everybody, welcome in on this snowy Wednesday, wherever you're joining us from. Let us know where you're joining us from today. Hey everybody, welcome in to the Investing in Real Estate show. Today we're going to have some fun talking about how to retire at 40, how to retire by 40. Sean says, hello from Brooklyn, New York. How much snow are you getting out there, Sean? We get this massive nor'easter once again, so the kids are off school. I'm over it. I am over it. I know then there's going to be people that are going to write in here and say they're joining us from, they're out in California and they're living large. Yeah, Aram is writing us from Miami, Florida. There you go. Juan from Miami. Thanks so much. Rub it in. Rub it in. Rub it in, everybody. So we're going to get the show started in just about 3 minutes. South Africa. Indianapolis, Moses, welcome. Pottstown, you're getting hit with some snow right now. Matthew Bishop, Lakeland, Florida. Hey, Matthew. Yeah, I guess California, you guys are getting hit with some crazy stuff out there today too, huh? Yeah, they canceled school last night. I don't know. Growing up, I don't ever remember them canceling school like the night before. Did you guys ever have that? Growing up, it was like you'd wake up and you would sit and listen to the radio, and you would wait. I was in Pennsylvania. We would all be waiting to listen for our school if it was canceled. It'd be a 1 hour delay, a 2 hour delay, and you were hoping that they would cancel it. But I never had the night before they send out a text message letting you know that, hey, your school is canceled. And that was never the case for me. Never, never. All right, we're going to get started in just a moment here. So I'm going to pull up this. Today we're going to talk about how to retire by 40, and we'll start here in just about 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. Jerome Arabit says, hey, I had a guy you talked to me more than 2 weeks ago, never came back to me. You can take care of this later. I know you're live. Nobody emailed me the first appointment. Jerome, who did you talk to on my team? Let me know. And we've got some people in from our team right here in the chat thread as well. We can, a lot of times people will send follow-up emails. It goes to your spam folder. Sometimes people, when they initially sign up for phone calls with our team, they put in the wrong phone number, and then they'll later write and say, oop, I put the wrong phone number in. And so our team will be calling and they can't get a hold of you. So I apologize for that. And Rudy, please check your spam folder. Please, 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 because our team is very good about follow-up. I mean, we have hundreds of clients around the world, so I apologize for that. Because if someone sends you a PDF, it might go right to your spam folder, and then you're like, oh, they never emailed me. Just check your junk folder, and who were you talking to? Please let us know, and we'll make sure we get you all squared away. We have a waiting list for people to get on the phone with us for like a few weeks. So I don't ever want anyone to feel like we don't get proper follow-up from our team. That's very important. So I've got our team right now who's in our chat thread. We'll go through and make sure that we get you all taken care of. So I apologize for that. All right, so we are live. It is 11 a.m. and we're going to kick off the show. After the show, I'm going to do, to talk about this article, talk about how to retire at 40, and then after the show, we'll kind of open it up for a few minutes of Q&A, if that works for all of you. And we'll just kind of answer some real estate questions, some of the things you're struggling with, you're hoping to achieve, and we'll talk. We'll do that, all right? Forrest wants to know, is there still owner software coming out for Morris Invest? Yes, indeed. In fact, we've been working on it for since like August. It's all custom. It's been a lot of tweaking, and we want it to just be perfect. Peter Cook says, I've had very good follow-up. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. And James Frederico, from our team, is right in here. He says, hey, Jerome, I got you. I'll reach back out to you and take care of you. Good, good, good. All right. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to talk about this in a second. So first, again, at the end of the show, we'll take some Q&A, and we'll do that as well. Let me just get this all dialed in. We're recording. We got the audio up and running. Does everything sound okay, guys? You guys can hear me? Give me a thumbs up. You guys are all good? Brandon, yes, absolutely, because some of those B-class properties, you're asking about the Burr method, absolutely, because buying those $60,000, $70,000 homes, those the banks love. They're able to do easy refinances on those because there's easy comps to pull in the neighborhood because there's retail sales. So I would stay away from like the $30,000, $40,000 stuff if you want to really do like a solid Burr method stuff, if that's what you're looking for. All right, sound is good. All right, so we're going to get started. All right, and let's get this show started. All right, on today's show, we're talking about how to retire by 40. A news article from the mainstream media. It's kind of total garbage. That's today's show. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris, longtime real estate investor, founder of Morris Invest. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for joining us and subscribing. I hope that you're a subscriber because this is where we talk about passive income, building legacy wealth for you and your family. That's the goal, right? And the vehicle that we use is buy and hold real estate. But I don't care about the real estate, right? I don't care about the 4 walls and a roof. I just bought 15 houses this week that we're about to rehab, okay? I don't care what they look like because once we get them, it doesn't matter. What I'm buying is a tax shelter, and that's what you should be focusing on, buying a tax shelter. That's what this show is all about. On today's show, I want to talk about how to retire by 40, and I want to preface this by saying that I got this from an email from a listener, a viewer of our show who is getting involved in real estate investing. Jesse Daly sent me this email, and he said, "Hey Clayton, I hope you're doing well, man. I thought you'd find this article interesting, especially how the writer literally doesn't mention anything about investing in real estate. There's only one quick mention of a condo adding to net worth and nothing else in this article. I'm so happy that your podcast teaches people how to truly invest properly and retire by the age of 40. They should have interviewed you for this article." So thank you, Jesse. I promised I would give you a shout out here on the show, and I want to go into this article. So again, I've lampooned some of these CNN Money articles over the past few years. I've done shows about these things because I just find them ridiculous. I find them ridiculous that they're telling people to invest in their 401k and then that's the way that you build retirement. That's the way that you're able to retire by 40 years old. I mean, how many people are, just like a show of hands, you're listening right now, how many of you think you could actually retire by 40 years old just with your 401k? Of course you can. It's ridiculous. The average 401k at retirement in this country, guess what, according to Time Magazine, is $90,000. Can you retire on that? No way. So I want to go through this article because it's a lot of fun, and Jesse sent it to me. So these are tips from CNN Money on how to retire by 40. 3 proven tips. So let's go. Chris Redding isn't your average retiree. He said goodbye to his working years at 37 and is now financially independent, living his life on his own terms. That's great. Now, he had $4,500 in debt, and when he started working, he got through all of that. He finally found a well-paying job working cybersecurity, took out a mortgage, bought a condo, and financed a BMW. Okay, all right. Took out a mortgage on a home, bought a condo, and financed a BMW. On our way to success. But then he started to wonder, is this all there is? He finally said, I can't do this for 40 years. In his late 20s, he started searching for alternatives, and he read the book, Your Money, Your Life, by Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin. And he said, look, there's other ways of becoming financially independent. So he then felt that he had enough to live the rest of his life on his savings and investments without having to work again. It took 2 more years of showing up at the cubicle for him to be sure. Then at 37, he finally walked away. So what did he do? Okay, here were his strategies. Here were his strategies for becoming financially independent and retiring at 40 years old. Number 1, save more. Save more. Okay, so his strategy, according to the CNN Money article, is he cut back on going out to dinner and he cut back on buying lattes. So he just started saving more. Really? So let me get this straight. That's the way that you can sustain yourself for the rest of your life by retiring at 40 years old from your job, is just having enough in the bank. You think that you're going to have, if the average 401k at retirement is $90,000, can you really live the lifestyle that you want? So now you're cutting back on dinners in order to save some money. You're not buying coffee. So what Natalie and I have talked about here on the show repeatedly is the idea of not having to shrink your lifestyle. Why not find out what your freedom number is using real estate, find out what your freedom number is, and actually have enough passive income every month coming in that cash flows. You're creating a tax shelter for yourself and enabling you to live the life that you want. So you can't go buy a latte I find that ridiculous. David Bach wrote about that in his book, The Automatic Millionaire, years ago. And look, if you're $40,000 in debt, yes, maybe not buying a $5 coffee every day is probably not a smart strategy. Also, if you're a smoker, spending $10 a day on cigarettes or whatever is probably, not a smart strategy if you want to claw your way out of debt. I get that part of it. But as a way of sustaining yourself and retiring at 40 years old, just saving more, savers are losers. That money in a bank account is doing nothing for you. What about buying performing assets that are actually producing cash flow? I mean, come on. So when he says, look, where people get into trouble with savings that they think they have to use reusable toilet paper and eat chicken broth, but basically, you'll never spend $0. Find a level of living that you're comfortable with and work on earning more without increasing your expenses. So he's just saying earn more, save more, cut out lattes, and you can retire at 40. I don't buy that for a second. Number 2, earn more. Okay, that's his second tip. Earn more. Great, so let's save more and earn more. Again, a paycheck job. The tax code is written for wealthy people. The tax code is written for entrepreneurs who own businesses, who own real estate. That's what the tax code is written for. It's not written for a W-2 employee. So earn more. So what he says is your actual job is only part of your work in order to earn the kind of money where you can live on only half or less of your salary. So take that extra money and sock it away. That's what he's saying. So work harder, right? Work for a paycheck. Get taxed at in the highest tax bracket by the federal government, right? Because we know that paycheck employees under the new tax code are hurt the worst. He says this career-boosting work can include earning advanced degrees. Oh, that's great. So his other bit of advice on this is go out and spend $100,000 on getting an advanced degree. So go get your master's degree. That's only, what, $100,000? That's only $100,000, right? Just go get a master's degree. So that's smart. So save more, earn more by spending more on getting an advanced degree or certifications. And then that way, you'll have people who will look at you more favorably in the office and be able to elevate you higher. That's great. So it's important to understand the weak areas. And he says, look, finding mentors. Okay, that's good. Yes, definitely finding mentors. That's a very smart move, finding mentors who can help propel you. And then number 3, he says, invest more. So he says the most powerful mechanism for investment right now, it's built into their job, it's the 401k. Invest in your 401k at a 2 or 3% return. Contributing at the level where you get the employer match is a must, and that's your biggest benefit. And that's how you can retire by 40. That's the article. Unbelievable. So, okay, ridiculous, right? That's how you can retire at 40? No. That's not how you can retire at 40. And that's not how you can live comfortably and live the life that you want and be able to produce legacy wealth for your family for the rest of your life. So he's now retired. He's living off of savings. He's got no assets that are actually performing for him for the rest of his life. He's got a BMW that he bought financed, and he has a mortgage on a condo that he lives in. He has no performing assets. That is not financial intelligence, any way you slice it. Wouldn't it have made more sense, instead of saving that money while he was working for that cybersecurity company, to take that money and invest it in real estate? Buy a performing asset that cash flows. That's how you control and move your family forward. That's how you can build true legacy wealth for you and your family. But actually taking money and buying a BMW, buying a liability, remember, all you need to remember is, if you're buying liabilities, a liability is something that does not produce cash flow. Now, if he bought that BMW and used it as an Uber driver that was producing cash flow, that's a different scenario. Or if he rented out that BMW, that's a different scenario. But I love these articles. And again, this is all sort of couched around the idea of the mainstream media, right? The mainstream media wants you to believe that a paycheck employer job is the way to go, that getting a 401k, having your company sort of automatically do it for you because you're too dumb to do it yourself, have them handle it, have them streamline it. That's how you have a strong safety net. We've been trained to believe that being secure is having a paycheck job. You know, again, I come back to I keep seeing this commercial, and I'm sure so many of you have seen this commercial over the past few weeks. I saw it first during the World Series, and they continue to run this stupid thing, where it shows a couple, you know, they're in their late 60s, and they're sitting there with a I don't know if it's a Merrill Lynch advisor. And the Merrill Lynch advisor says, well, it looks like the plan worked and you're going to be able to have that retirement you wanted. And I looked at, you look on the iPad app that they're handing to the couple, and he's like, honey, we did it. We can do it. We can live that life we want in retirement. And it shows that their income is they're going to have about $70,000 to work with. Like if you actually look at the numbers on that screen, $70,000. So now they're almost at retirement. And then the next clip, it shows them in a boat with their granddaughter, right? And they're sailing off into the sunset, like some small little boat with their granddaughter. And the little girl says, aye, aye, Captain, and she's driving the boat. So this is their retirement. They finally did it, right? They had to wait till they're 70 to buy a boat and to be able to sleep in and spend a little bit of time with their grandkids. All because they had their money managed by a financial advisor that was taking out big fees and investing in the stock market and not investing in real estate and cash flowing assets. So there you go. That's my frustration. There you go. That's my little 2 cents, my little rant about these types of mainstream media articles. And when you see them on TV, just roll your eyes. Think about it for a second. Saving more, earning more, get an advanced degree, spend $100,000 on a master's degree, and then use a 401k. That's how you're able to retire at 40. That is total garbage. That is total garbage. Unless maybe the guy wants to go live in like Thailand by himself with no kids, and he wants to live like in a hut somewhere for the rest of his life, and he doesn't care about actually having any income or cash to be able to buy anything or any food or live the life that he wants. I find it to be total garbage. I'd love to hear your comments and your reactions to this. Please send them to us, and I really thank you so much. So that's going to do it for that, and thank you so much for subscribing to the show. I really appreciate it. This is the Investing in Real Estate show. You can please subscribe, share it with your friends, and please go out there, take action, become a real estate investor, because I believe it's the #1 way to build wealth. We'll see you next time, everyone. All right, now with that, that's the show. So anyone who wanted to get just the shortened version of that, but hey, now we're going to open it up to some Q&A here in the show. And we got so much. I saw so many chat threads coming through here, asking questions. All right, so fire them up here. All right. Joel says, I've also had to email a few times and reschedule my call, but no response since then. Okay, Joel, no worries. We'll get you all straightened out. I apologize. Like if people miss their phone appointments, because like I said, again, with our team, we have like calls are booked out, I think about 2 weeks. And so if we call and then like goes to voicemail and then we're trying to reschedule it. So we really try to make sure we can get on the same page. Ginger, I'm sorry again. What's going on? Ginger, we'll get to the bottom of this. So I'm going to make a list of anyone who didn't get a call back. So I apologize. All right. So can you guys tell me? Aram says, Glenn and Nicole from your team have been great. Awesome. Okay, so we will dial some of this stuff in, Ginger, and I'm sorry. We'll get some of these people on your team to make sure we get it all taken care of. Thank you, guys. Let's see. All right, Joel, no, I'm glad you're not upset. No, I just, if sometimes emails get back and forth and we're trying to make sure that everyone gets taken care of. Okay, R. Tuffle, get you back on your property. Okay. Let's see. AV Tapper says, what do you think about joint ventures? They have the money, I do appraisals, marketing, and brother does the renovations. Hey, JVs are great, right? You need to build a great team for real estate investing. That's very important. You have to have a great team to do real estate investing. Well, Kelly Cheatham says, I want to hear more about your program. Great. Just book a call with our team, Kelly, at morrisinvest.com. We're doing some great things. I'm really excited about some of the new properties that we've purchased that we're about to do. We've already assigned to our contractors to dive in and start rehabbing. See, Charlie18 says, or Sean wants to know what are the price of the new houses being built. Our new houses, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, are right around 70,000. Okay, Charlie18, I'm going to answer this question. How does an LLC save you on your taxes on your rental? How does an LLC save you taxes on your rental properties? A lot of the stuff I've been reading talks about pass-through income. I thought that was taxed the same way as a sole proprietor. Yes, however, remember that under the new tax law, as a pass-through entity, you're now getting an additional 20% deduction. 20%. And remember, when you have your properties in an LLC, you're being taxed as a business. And you're able then to spread that money over your W-2 income and those other things. So I've just done a whole series of videos on understanding tax shelters. And remember what you're buying as a tax shelter. So forget about buying real estate. I talk about I like repairs. So repairs add to your tax shelter, helps mitigate your overall cash flow. Because remember what you're buying in the beginning, the 3 stages of real estate investing, right? Buy, own, and cash flow. What you're buying in the beginning, you're adding to your net worth. So I don't care about the cash flow necessarily until years later. But you're buying and adding to your net worth. You're creating a tax shelter for yourself. You're able to mitigate your W-2 income. You're able to offset all of those things. So I would love to hear what you guys thought about today's show and the article. Please let me know. I'd love to hear you what you thought about that. Kelly, speaking of the computer program. Oh, Kelly, yeah, we're building a personal owner portal for our clients. That the software, and make it much easier so that we don't, our team doesn't have to send out purchase agreements. It'll be right there because we have so many clients that we'll have 3 or 4 clients that want the same house. And so they'll yeah, give me a purchase agreement. And it's kind of first come, first serve. And then our team has to send out a purchase agreement, wait till it's signed and all that BS. So this will make it very easy for them to be able to click right on it and then open up DocuSign and be able to do it. Pretty great. Ryan Milley says, okay, what are the mechanics after purchasing one property to purchase another property or 2 and repeat the process over and over again? Where does that money come from? Well, ideally it could come from a bank, right? Or it could come from private money. It could come from, we talk about a company that we work with called Fund and Grow. If you go to our website, morrisinvest.com/funding, you don't pay them any money until if they get you money, 0% interest. But what I would look at, okay, so let's just take the mechanics of that to answer your question. So I would say, buying a $60,000, $70,000 rental property, and then leveraging that, right? So maybe or if you have the cash to do that, right? Ideally, if you could come out of the gate, you have the cash to purchase your first one free and clear, that's more of a B-class play, that sort of B minus, 60, 65, 70K play, that's kind of maybe, it's transitioning up to sort of an A-class neighborhood, and it, could appraise in a few years at 80 or 75. That's the play, right? So buying that, if you could buy that with cash, right? And then refinancing it, pull some equity back out of that, and then being able to roll that next amount of cash the bank just gave you into your next property, into your second property, and then into your third property. A buddy of mine here in New Jersey started and did that on an $80,000 property. He now has over 2,000 units. He hardly had any money when he started. And he bought that first property. That first property allowed him to snowball in all of these other properties. JJH. Yeah, unfortunately, JJ said you purchased second property in Indy in November. We'll hopefully get an answer for you, an update on where we're at with the rehab. And we'll also make sure we connect you with the right management team if you're having some issues. We work with 8 different property management teams, so we'll get you sorted out. So just email our team. The team. Our team at Morris Invest. Email us. We had a really, really, really unusually harsh winter that set us back about 4 to 5 weeks on construction this year with a deep freeze. We had stuff all the way through Michigan, into Indiana, down into Pennsylvania, where we just had all kinds of problems. Ryan, you are absolutely welcome. Thank you so much. Sean says you weren't able to pull cash off the cards they got through Fund and Grow. Yeah, that's unfortunate. We have literally, Fund and Grow has enabled our clients to raise over $20 million for purchases of real estate. So I'm not sure why that person had an issue. they're very, very good at walking you through step by step. I just would say reach out to them and make sure that you're working with them. They have a thing with gold money. So basically they use the cards to buy gold, and then you transfer the gold into cash. It's like a little bit of a few hoops to jump through, but hey, it's 0% interest for a year. You know, hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? We were able to get $176,000 in cash because of them in order to purchase real estate. So it's an amazing strategy. So again, and you'll save like $500 if you go through our website, because we've asked them to do that for people who watch us and who listen to us. So if you go to morrisinvest.com/funding, check it out. It might not be for you. If it is, great, just check them out, you know, and have a phone call with them. Joe wants to know, what appliances do you provide? Actually, I don't do any appliances in our properties. Now, that is to say, if we move into some of the B-class properties, we will sometimes put in a fridge and stove and things like that. But as far as a washer and dryer, I made that mistake when I first started in Michigan. I bought all appliances and found out that I didn't need to. That it's commonplace that tenants will provide all of their own appliances. They will typically go down to a local, like a local scratch and dent company, etc. That's where I bought my first appliances when I had my first condo in Florida. I went to a local scratch and dent place. They're brand new. They maybe have like a tiny little scratchy scratch on the side, and you get a great deal on a bundle of appliances. So that's what most tenants will do, and then they'll keep them for many, many years, so you don't have to worry about it. So Daniel wants to know, what's the fee for you guys to do the investing for me? There is no fee with us at all. I know some other companies charge like 10%, all that stuff. We don't do that. You're just buying the house. We just, and try to get it all stabilized for you with a property management team and cash flowing. So you don't have any additional fees. You own the property free and clear. Jimmy says, how do you organize your banking system for your real estate business? Great question, Jimmy. We have a couple of podcast episodes, Natalie and I do, where we talk about how to run your family business and finances for real estate investing. If you want to check out the Investing in Real Estate podcast, you can do so, and we have some of those episodes. The short answer is that you want to have bank accounts set up for your taxes. You want to have bank accounts set up for your LLC that owns your rental property. And personally, so I have LLCs that own my rental properties. Those LLCs have their own bank account. So when the cash flow from the tenant comes in, I, Clayton Morris, don't touch that money that goes into the business. Then I can pull that money out, but you can't commingle money. Like if it's a business that owns your real estate, you don't want that money coming into your personal bank account. That's called commingling. That's illegal. The IRS does not look favorably upon that. So you want to do everything above board, making sure that everything is flowing the way that it should. Bobby, yes, what's the best way to start a property management team? No cash, but have the time and looking to help investors. Well, I would say to start a property management company takes about $150,000. I know this to be the case. So right away, you're going to be spending about $150,000 to set everything up. Okay, you're going to need to pay for software, things like Rent Manager, AppFolio, those types of things. You're going to want to hire an accountant. You're going to want to hire an office manager. You're going to need to hire a leasing agent. You also need to get brokerage, right? You need to have a brokerage license to make sure that you can manage properties. So all those things cost some money. So to start a property management company, that's what it roughly costs. And then if you have more than 100 properties, the rule of thumb is for every 100 properties or so, you're going to want to add another human being to your company to facilitate those properties. That came to me as a friend of mine who ran his own property management company. Those are the exact numbers that he used. James wants to know, what's the area? Oh, it's just on the website to find the gold funding option. So just go to morrisinvest.com/funding. It's sort of a hidden page because we don't promote it, but it's there. If you sign up, like I said, you'll save $500 once they get you the money. You don't pay anything until they get you the cards. Peter says, spoke briefly with your guy Justin, have a self-directed IRA. I was interested in, that was a month ago. He was going to keep an eye out for a property and haven't heard back. Peter, I will follow up with Justin, or you can just feel free to reach out to Justin as well from our team, because we can set up that whole dashboard for you for the self-direction. So I'll make sure that Justin gets back to you, Peter. I'll have our team make sure we go through this comment thread to take care of it, okay? How can you cash out on a $40,000 property? Well, So $40,000 homes are tricky because banks are lazy, or appraisers are lazy. So a bank is going to hire an appraiser to go in, and they're going to, those types of properties, they're being sold every day to investors. Like I might buy 30 of them, right? But guess what? They're all off market. So they're not being sold on the multiple listing service like you'd buy a house for $100,000, right, with a realtor. And so when an appraiser goes to pull comps in order to appraise the property, they don't have any comps to work with. The only comps they have are ones that are on the MLS. And the ones that they end up pulling end up being ones that are like foreclosures or pre-rehab. So you might have a $40,000 house and you know it's worth 40, 43, 42, but they might appraise it at 20 because the only thing they could find that sold recently on that street was a foreclosure that's not been rehabbed yet. So you're kind of at a crapshoot. Like if you're planning to do a refinance, here's my suggestion, is to move up into those $60,000, $65,000, $70,000 homes. And then you're putting like, then you're able to pull almost like the full equity out of that house or close to it. If a bank then cuts you a check for 50, 55, great, then you can roll that into your next property. So I just would say, don't try to go super cheap if you're planning on doing a refinance. Banks are lazy, and frankly, you're just at the mercy of these banks. I can pull up sales disclosures with hundreds of sales where the house is selling for 43, 45, but guess what? The appraiser will not look at that. And so then you're at the mercy of like a foreclosure that's on the multiple listing service. And unfortunately, it's just difficult. Now, we've had people who've done refinances on $40,000 homes, and like one of our clients recently, he bought one for 43, it appraised for 55. But again, it's a crapshoot. He could have just as easily had the appraiser come back and say, we think that house is worth 22. So remember, what you're buying is cash flow. When you're buying that low and you're trying for that high of ROI, you're sort of like the investor that's buying 50 properties like that. They don't care about ever refinancing. They just want the ROI. They want the cash flow. I hope that makes sense. R. Lara says, I've got... Shoot, I think I missed it. Sorry. Zip past it. Ahmad says, can I invest in the United States if I'm not a U.S. citizen? Yes, you can. Just book a call with our team. We have people, we have a lot of investors, Canada, New Zealand, all over the world, China, who invest with us. Do I see Florida getting to California prices within 10 years? Seeing a lot of new construction and price hikes there in Tampa. Yeah, a lot of those coastal areas, Tampa, those types of places, Clearwater, Miami, of course. I don't see them getting to California craziness. Let me tell you a California story. The reason it's ridiculous. So like the same house that I might do in Michigan or Indiana, and that our clients would buy, maybe like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in the $50,000 range, right? Well, there was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath last week on the market in the Bay Area for $900,000. And guess what? It was condemned. It's a condemned house selling for $900,000 in the Bay Area. That's California. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Mario says, I was thinking about buying houses in my name under a Heloc on my primary residence, and then when I get to 3 to 5 houses, do a portfolio loan on all 3 to 5 and an LLC. Is that okay? Yeah, but why would you need to buy them if you're using a HELOC to buy them? Just buy them in an LLC now. You know what I mean? There's no reason you should buy them in your own name at all, ever. Buy them in an LLC. If you're using the HELOC, it doesn't matter how you use the HELOC. HELOC is cash, right? You could go out and buy a boat if you wanted to with your HELOC. The bank doesn't care. You're just writing a check from your HELOC. So why not buy them in your own name now? Or, I'm sorry, buy them in an LLC today. You're using the HELOC on your primary residence. It doesn't matter. The bank doesn't care what you're doing with that money. You just have to pay it back. But to me, having a HELOC is one of the killer strategies. I love a HELOC on my primary residence. I use it to buy properties all day long. Michelle says, what are your thoughts on using Quicken loans to buy a house? I've never done it. Hey, if you can get good rates and good terms from a bank to buy a house, great, go for it. I don't see why not. Video Teachy, can you recommend a bank for a HELOC on a New Jersey property? Yes, Lakeland, L-A-K-E, Lakeland Bank. We love them. They're fantastic. SMH Ninja on the Fund and Grow fees. No, see, you're refinancing very quickly. So you're going to refinance very, very quickly. Buy that $50,000, $60,000 home and then get it into a long-term 30-year note, and you pay off the zero interest credit cards, and then you recycle them. So that's what Fund and Grow does. They recycle them and get you more 0%, and then you can just rinse and repeat. That's why it's a great strategy. So you're not keeping those cards for, with like you bought a house on a credit card for 20 years. You're refinancing it within that first 12, 18 months. And yes, you can quit claim deed. You can move a property to an LLC. Kevin wants to know thoughts on an umbrella insurance versus LLC. I say you have both. I mean, I would definitely have insurance and also have your properties in a limited liability company. The reason you have your properties in a limited liability company is so that people don't come after you personally. That's the key, right? You don't want people, if a tenant slips and falls because a handrail wasn't fixed on your one property. And this happened to a buddy of mine in Philadelphia. He has a property, and a girl was drinking one night. She came home to the condo. She slipped outside because the sidewalk had like this much of a differential, and sued him. Fortunately, he had insurance, but fortunately the case got dismissed or dwindled down where he only had to pay like $17,000. He had to come out of pocket $17,000 to pay for this girl slipping and falling at his property because he had the property in his own name. So don't put properties in your own name if you don't need to. There's no reason to. Forrest said, do you have a bank you recommend for refining 50K rentals? I guess it just depends. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. State Farm, actually, the insurance company, has a refinance program, a national program. North Point Bank, all one word with an E at the end, North Point, also has a refinance program. They're a national company as well. You could look into them. Daniel says, how do you tell if a property is A, B, or C class? That's a great question. I've got a whole video series here on our YouTube channel about how to understand that. So you can, if you want to look that up right here on the channel, it goes more deeply into that. But the short answer is an A-class neighborhood I like to avoid. An A-class neighborhood are those $200,000, $300,000 homes, two-car garages, maybe they have a swimming pool, they're in the best neighborhoods. I stay away from those as an investment property because you're going to have the most moving parts that break. You're going to have the most entitled tenants that cause the biggest headaches and cause you the biggest problems. So garage door openers that break, garbage disposals that break, multiple heating and air systems that break, avoid those. Those also have the most volatility. Those tend to be the areas where those in a big recession lose their job. The A-class neighborhoods. We saw that across the country, right? These A-class neighborhoods where people lost their jobs and all these houses went into foreclosure and people couldn't pay their rent, or the value plummeted significantly. So let's say they're renting it from you for $3,000 a month in an A-class neighborhood, and everyone loses their job all around that A-class neighborhood. Now the rent is, you're going to have to go down like $2,200 a month, or even $1,800 a month. We saw that in Manhattan, right? People renting Manhattan apartments for $3,500 a month. The recession hits, and guess what? All these Wall Street people lose their jobs, etc., and those went down significantly. You could rent a place in Manhattan for like $1,800 a month instead of the $35 that you could before the recession. But guess what? Those C-class neighborhoods stayed the same. Those C and B-class neighborhoods roughly stayed the same. Consistent cash flow. Those are the people that tend not to lose their jobs. Those are the people that are, hardworking, blue collar. B-class is kind of moving towards an A-class. It has better schools, slightly lower ROI. But I've been buying a lot more B-class properties lately, personally, because when you get to a point of having enough cash flow, you really want to start thinking about buying those more expensive B-class because you're creating more of a tax shelter for yourself. You're creating that bigger spread, that bigger tax shelter, and you're adding to your net worth more significantly. So, but C and B are my favorites. So I've got a lot of C, and I'm starting to buy a lot more B. Yeah, Lisa says that's why I like condos, no outside maintenance, but then I don't like the associations. Right, I do not like HOA fees, and I've got a whole video on HOAs because HOAs, honestly, you're sort of at the mercy of these people. I mean, you're literally at the mercy of these people, and you never know when they're going to decide to change the bylaws and make it so that you can't rent the place. Or they're going to hit you with a big roof assessment. You're going to have to pay, you know, $5,000 for a new roof on the property, and you have no control over that. So homeowners associations, I'm not a fan of. Daniel, we don't have a number for you to call us because we want to be able to schedule it with you. So just go to our website, click on the schedule a consultation button. You literally answer like 8 questions, like your first name, last name, best email address to get a hold of you. Make sure you type in your phone number correctly. And then we just ask you a few quick questions like how many properties do you currently have? What are your goals? And then you pick on the calendar the time that you want to schedule a call with us. It's very simple. So it's up to you. You know that you got the kids from 2 to 4 p.m. We don't, right? So we want you to pick the time that best serves your needs. It'll go on your calendar. We'll send you an email reminder about 10 minutes before your call, and we'll jump on the phone with you and talk to you for like 30 minutes. Chad Boyce wants to know, how is Cap West? You know, I heard good things about them years ago, but then I think I heard bad things. They just kind of fell off, and I haven't really actually heard many people using them. So I don't know. I've never used Cap West. What if you want to live duplex A-class neighborhood? Your thoughts? Well, Rodney, I mean, it's up to you if you want to live in the property. That's up to you, right? Because that's a different animal than investing in a property. But if you want to live in a duplex in an A-class neighborhood, great, you buy it. I would rent out the other side so that they're paying your mortgage. That's an investment, right? That's an investment property in an A-class neighborhood. So, you know, go for it. You know, it's just a matter of whether, if you're in an A-class neighborhood, are you likely to have a higher turnover on the rent because people want to have their own single family home? They might not necessarily want to split a house with somebody if they're in an A-class neighborhood. You know, when I was younger, I was fine kind of having a shared wall with somebody. But now that I've got 3 kids and I'm an adult, there's no way I want to share a wall with somebody else. You know, I want my own place. I want my own yard. What do I think about a land trust? Well, it's funny you mention that because our tax accountant thinks that they are a total mistake. So I do not do anything in a land trust. Sam says, I spoke to Glenn a few minutes ago. Awesome. All right. So, going to wrap things up today, guys, I think. Oh, I like this comment here from S9R. It says, you have changed my life and my wife's for the better. We have 1 rental property. We're buying our next this week. Thank you. That is awesome. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you.